So today I'm going to be talking about perfectionism. Obviously, this is something that if you were a gifted kid or whatever, this is a trope or an archetype that has been hackneyed. But I'm here to offer you another perspective. I'm sure it's nothing original, but again, this series is called Advice from Me to Me, because I feel like it would be absolutely absurd for me as a I'm not even 21 yet. I was gonna say 21-year-old. I'm only 20. It's like, what would I know besides fucking things up and spending my parents' money? I really just haven't lived enough of a life, a hard enough life, a long enough life to give you advice with a sound conscience and thinking like I'm actually doing something. So this is for Ella, this is for you, whenever I need a reminder. Today's topic, perfectionism. Basically, I was listening to a podcast episode a couple days ago. One of the co-hosts, she said, just very offhandedly, as if this is something that everybody knew, she just said, perfectionism often does more harm than good. So I finished the episode, but I didn't hear a single other word that was being said. That's all I remembered. I just kept saying that over and over and over in my head on my drive back home. Perfectionism does more harm than good. Perfectionism does more harm than good. How does perfectionism do more harm than good? Because it's like oxymoronic in a way, or is that the right word? I mean, like contradictory. But basically it's like, well, if you're perfect, then you're not only good, you're the highest standard of good possible. You're perfect. So how does that do more harm? I thought about it some more, and then here's what I have to say. Needing things to be perfect before you start doing them is an excuse to procrastinate. I hear this all the time from people around me, and this is no shade to them because I'm also like this, if not worse than everybody else around me. Actually, no. But basically, I feel like so many people, they self-identify as perfectionists, but really they're just people who do not act, people who overthink every little thing, and people who, when it really comes down to it, they're paralyzed by all the different ways they could have just jumped in and started doing something. To all those people out there, like, I low-key think that most of you are not perfectionists. I think most of you are scared to start. So anyways, here are some examples. These are pretty obvious, but just so you know what I'm talking about when I say that your perfectionism is really just an excuse to procrastinate. Okay, so number one, I'll use all examples from my own life so that you don't feel like, attacked. But basically, starting a YouTube channel. I thought that, okay, like I can't start until I have the right camera that all my other favorite vloggers are using. I can't start until I have the perfect setup. Like I can't even film a video unless it's like amazing lighting outside, unless like the background of my videos look really aesthetically pleasing. I can't start. Or also, I can't start until I look a certain way. Because, again, I grew up on the internet, so I watched a lot of YouTubers, and they all looked at this perfect, manicured way. And I was like, well, I don't look like that, so I can't start until I look like them. And really, of course, that's just an excuse not to start. And you know how I know that? Because actually, I did end up getting the perfect, like, vlogger, influencer camera. And then I was still too scared to pick up my camera most of the time. Or, like, there's good lighting at least once in a day. Did I ever make use of that? No. And so it really is an excuse. Also, I just realized that a lot of my favorite vloggers, they literally started off making grainy ass videos on their phone. A YouTuber I really look up to, my fam, she literally started by making videos on her computer's webcam. And now look at her. And another thing that I think that a lot of other people might go through, making a resolution to get fit, but there's still like a ton of reasons why they feel like they can't start. Like, oh, well, if I'm gonna like, become healthy, not only do I have to go and get a gym membership, I also have to have like a perfect diet.
I'm gonna also need the perfect workout set. Also gonna need like this specific protein powder. Also, I have to buy this pre-workout. Also, I should probably start taking creatine. Like,
I need to do all these things before I actually just like get my ass moving. Again, that's an excuse. That's not your perfectionism. And then the second really important revelation that I had about perfectionism and why it does more harm than good is this. The paradoxical nature of perfectionism is that the only way to get close to achieving it is through repeated imperfection. For example, take practicing an instrument. The whole point of practicing an instrument is that you do it literally a million times. You practice every single day. You practice for hours every single day, and you suck for most of it until after you've practiced, let's say, a year on this one particular piece. That will be the closest you are to perfection. But if you started out with this, I'm miming the violin because I play the violin, but if you started out with this expectation that, okay, as soon as my bow hits the string, every note has to be perfect, you will never achieve that. And now I will go ahead and use another example from my own life. I want to be an author, a published author. It is my biggest dream, and I think it's something that I was meant to do. Basically, obviously, I've been trying to write a full-length novel my whole life, and the one time I succeeded in doing that was 2022. I started writing it on my birthday in January, and then I finished the book by March of the same year. It took me 2 months, actually less than 2 months, to write an 80,000 word novel. And at this point I was a senior in high school. Now, you might be wondering, oh my god, like, what happened after that? You went and got it published, and where is it? Where can I find it? And all I could tell you right now is that it is sitting in my Google Docs untouched, and it has never seen the light of day. I never showed a single other person the first draft of my novel. Even though a ton of really supportive people in my life asked, I never showed them. And do you know why I never touched it ever again after writing it? Because I was embarrassed that it wasn't perfect. I thought that it wasn't good enough to be read by other people and that they would judge me, and you know, that was just a practice run, and I'll write a whole nother novel instead, and it'll be more perfect than this one. And then guess what? I've never written another novel since. Now imagine if I did that, right? I wrote the first draft, and then I just delved right back in, and then edited it, and then wrote a second draft, or a third draft, or fourth draft, and then finally made all the edits, and by now, we're in 2025, that book would have been done. That book would have been published by now, if I wasn't so afraid of being imperfect. So that's all I really have to tell you right now. I will see you again for another episode in my series, Advice from Me to Me. Okay, thank you so much.